Hi, this is Jill Varvel with the Dixiecast podcast. Today I'm at Once Upon a Time Books in Tontitown, Arkansas. This is a used bookstore. There's just a lot of really cool elements to it that I thought was very worthy of featuring it. And so today I'm going to take you for a tour of the store, and I'm also going to interview the general manager, Allison, and she's going to tell us all about how this place began and about the other store that's in Bentonville. But for now, why don't you join me as we take a look around today. So I am here today with Allison, the general manager of Once Upon a Time Books here in Tontitown, Arkansas. And we're just going to have a little chat and learn a little bit more about this wonderful bookstore. So Allison, what inspired Once Upon a Time Books?
So it's really a funny story. My parents actually started it out of their garage. They were selling books at a local flea market. And my mom kind of got started on it, and she's like, oh, maybe we could sell some books. And my dad started looking at it and thought, interesting. I think I could probably, do this myself. So he got involved with my mom, and it was right at the start. eBay came to fruition. So they started selling on eBay and kind of took off from there. At the time, my dad had a landscaping business, and this kind of took off, and he's like, I think we can actually just do this full time. And at that time, it was more, rare collectible books. So it could just kind of grew and grew. So it was very organic. There was not one set thing, but I will say the fact that my mom was selling just in a local booth, that's kind of what inspired it, I guess.
Wow. So you mentioned around the time of eBay. So how long has this been in existence?
It's since 1999. So almost 25 years.
Oh, wow. Wow. So in terms of its the number of books that you presently have, which is quite plentiful, we'll do a little tour of the store. But would you say that it's grown exponentially over the years?
Absolutely. The fact that it started out of their garage, it speaks volumes to how quickly really it's grown. It started in the garage, then they moved to a little house, and then they built a shed out, not a shed, but more like a warehouse outside of our house. And then they opened a warehouse here in Tontitown. And since then we've kept on adding not only the books, but the number of buildings that we work out of.
Wow. So this particular location in Tontitown, how long has this been here?
I think about 7 years now.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And I know you have, is it a second location? Do you have more than one other location?
Yes, we have this location here in Tontitown, and then our location off the Bentonville Square.
Oh,
that opened in the fall of 2020.
Okay.
So about 3 years.
All right. And is that, I have not yet paid a visit to that location. Is that as large as this one, or?
Not near as large.
Okay.
It is much, much smaller. I like to say it's a condensed version of this store. So you still have your children's books, still have your classics, you have nonfiction, but just much smaller. And I would say a higher volume of more of your cool, rare collectible finds.
Okay. One of the things I really appreciate about this store is all of the varying labels for each set of books that you have. That must have been quite a process to determine how to separate.
Oh, absolutely.
the categorization, I guess you would call it.
Absolutely. And that's something we're fine-tuning all the time. We're actually in the middle of a project right now where we're separating classics from modern classics and fiction from contemporary fiction.
Wow.
So constantly trying to make it easier for people to find exactly what they're looking for when they come in.
And, that's sort of a good segue to my next question. You have a pretty impressive website, and it looks like you can just go search books there. Now, how long has that been in existence? And just tell me about how to go about finding a book on your website.
Sure. So the website portion of our business is actually kind of really how we got started. What we did was we sold mostly online. Everything was, on eBay, our own website, and that's what's located in our warehouse. So everything online, you search for it, you can purchase it and have it sent to the store for local pickup. So it's not exactly what you're going to find in either of the stores. There might be a little bit of overlap, but everything is separate. So you just go to onceuponatimebooks.com, search for the title, author, genre, whatever, find what you are looking for, and there'll be a label of the condition and the price. You can put it in your cart. You can either ship to you directly or to the store, either of the stores for pickup.
Oh, that's awesome. So tell me about your clientele. Like, what is that? Or is there an average customer, or is just all?
That's a great question. I would say the average customer would probably be families of small kids. A lot of people mostly know us for our children's books. We have a huge children's book selection, and I would say that's kind of where we got our start. We were really involved in the education community, so that's a lot of people heard us through that way. So I would say that's still our main customer, our families with small children. But then really it ranges. I mean, we get everything from college students coming in to, grandmas and grandpas coming in searching for older titles that they haven't seen in many decades.
And has the cafe always been here, or is that kind of a new?
We actually opened that up in the middle of COVID, so it was quite the feat. We opened that in the holidays of 2020, and we were just selling Kaya chocolate and hot chocolate and coffee.
Wow. So is that primarily what you're selling these days? Just primarily beverages, or are there any like pastries or anything like that?
We're doing pastries, and so we've got cookies, scones, we do pies, but we're actually about to roll out. We're going to start doing wraps, sandwiches, and salads. So more of your to-go, healthier version of a lunch. So that should be rolling out hopefully in the next month or two.
Wow, that's really cool. I mean, what a great place to come eat and then like read a book, and just a nice kind of, it's not quite a library, but that's a great idea. I love that. So this is, I guess, the flagship store, Tontitown. And in addition to, do you have any kind of like events that occur here?
Yeah, definitely. We have story time.
Okay.
We have story time, and it's not a set schedule, but we do plan on having something like during the weekdays, weekends. We have local author events. We plan on having open mic nights and game nights in the future.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, we've had actually murder mysteries. So that's been really fun. We got dressed up in literary characters, and then we had people scattered around the store, and you had to solve the crime. That was a blast, and we'll definitely be probably bringing that back for Halloween.
Oh, that's awesome. So you probably, I imagine you use your social media to sort of generate interest for that sort of thing.
Definitely.
Very cool. So in addition to the Halloween events and such, you have this absolutely amazing book tree, which we'll feature. How does that kind of, okay, first of all, what went into building that thing?
Okay, so fun story. When we used to only have our online warehouse, we opened a portion of it to our local customers. I was in college, and I just I saw on Pinterest, when Pinterest was first a thing, these book trees. And so I built like a mini Christmas tree out of books. I was out to about my waist. And I don't know, we all loved it, and people started posting about it. And that just grew and grew. So once we opened this store, it was quite a bit bigger than the waist high one. And then we're like, oh, we can make this thing giant. So we literally had like measurements built out, and how many books need to go on this. Like we have drawings and math to it. So I think this last time we built it, it took us about 2 weeks to do it, and there's books inside holding it all together, and
Oh, wow.
it's a lot that goes into it.
I can only imagine, just because, like, for example, and I just imagine, like, if I were to build a book tree, like, I would want to choose the books that I know were not, like, super hot, like, that, like, or rare, right?
Yeah.
So you probably had to, like, I'm just imagine there was just so much that went into that.
Yes.
Like,
So we use something what we call books by the foot. So they're mostly books for decoration. So we would sort the books by height. So we would know, okay, all this same height book would be on the same level. And then the smaller books go at the top, telling you there's a whole science behind it.
I hope you got some kind of college credit for that. That sounds like quite a feat.
It is. And we do it in Bentonville too. It's much, much smaller. It's really cute, but also it's kind of the same thing we do, just on a smaller scale.
Yes. Well, so I guess, is there anything maybe that I haven't touched on that you would like our listeners to know about Once Upon a Time books?
Sure. Yeah. Something a lot of people don't realize when they just come and shop with us is that we're really involved in the education community. So we started doing dollar book fairs with local schools. So a lot of children can't afford a lot of the other book fairs. The books, can be so expensive. We would be an option to bring in one of our book fairs and have a wide selection, everything, board books, picture books, chapter books. We'd bring those in, set that up for a week, and kids would come home with books that they've maybe not have been able to afford before. That's something we're still doing many, many years later, and still heavily involved with.
Yeah, that's really neat. And then just one other question that I had, because I observed a few like little book rooms. Are those rooms just kind of hodgepodge, or are they?
Yeah, that one over there is actually our antiquarian room. So anything before 1900. So you're going to see a lot of, falling apart covers.
Okay.
It smells really good because people love the smell of old books. Some people do, at least. So it's definitely got its own vibe in there just because it's all old.
Very neat. Oh, what a great idea.
Yeah.
Well, this is awesome. Well, I just want to thank you so much for your time and having me this interview today and letting us know about this amazing store, and can't wait to do a little tour and just showcase all the neat little aspects of it. So thank you, Allison.
Absolutely.
The opportunity.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, you bet. Right. Cool.
So I'm in the main area of Once Upon a Time Books, which houses all of the fiction, from science fiction to romance. But behind me, however, is the nonfiction area, which contains travel, biographies, science, do-it-yourself, pretty much anything that you can think of. And you could literally spend hours in this room. You can get lost in there as well. So it's pretty vast. So this room is the antiquarian room, which houses a lot of the older books. And I'm told that in their Bentonville store, they have a lot of these older books as well. And one book in particular dates back to the 1700s. So this is really cool. You can just come in here. It's not like you have to get like special permission. You can come in here and actually look at the books, open them up. And it's a nice little leather sofa in here as well, where you can sit down and just kick it. Okay, so upon entry to the left, there is this room that houses soundtracks, audiobooks, children's record books, as well as some albums, even some VHS. So this is just kind of a little area that's separated from the rest of the store. So I'm in the vintage children's section here, where they just have like all of these old wonderful books. And I could not help but notice my very special Nancy Drew section. The Mystery at Lilac Inn, this is the very first Nancy Drew book that I read. And this holds a special meaning for me just because growing up, I spent a lot of time at a independent bookstore with my mom. And once a month, we would have lunch, and then I would buy myself a little Nancy Drew book. So here's my favorite and very first book, Nancy Drew. So Once Upon a Time Books has a designated kids area, which I really appreciate because it's organized in accordance with kids' age. So upon entry here, you have the teen books, so, older kids area, but it's still separate from the rest of the bookstore. And as you move closer on in here, it goes from younger and younger and younger until pretty soon you get into the little children's area, which is where they hold their story time, and kids can just kind of sit there with their moms and dads and read books and play. And they even have this cute little kid furniture here and this very cute little throne where you can sit and read a book. So Once Upon a Time Books likewise has a cafe that they call OUAT Cafe, and their menu is quite charming. Every beverage is titled according to literature. So we start out with The Taming of the Brew. We have Murder on the Orient Espresso. You get the idea. It's very clever. And in addition, they also have cookies and other menu items like tea and coffee. So next time I decide to recycle some books, I'm going to come by Once Upon a Time Books and make an appointment and either sell my books to them or donate them and either get a store credit or cash for my books. But more likely, I'll come on over here and just hang out, look at books, read, sit, enjoy a cup of coffee, and just enjoy this wonderful bookstore. So I want to thank you for joining me on the Dixiecast podcast, The Sound of the South, and we will see you next time for another heaping helping of Southern comfort for your ears.
There's a dark and a troubled side of life. There's a bright and a sunny side too.